Let's talk about the election that we just wrapped up. Mark Carney is our Prime Minister. Your party is the official opposition. You want to stay on as the Conservative leader. Why should Conservatives give you another chance to go to an election to take on the Liberals?
When it comes to body language and behavior, Pierre Poilievre might be the most strategic politician we've seen in a while. What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today we are breaking down the body language and behavior of the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am not a political strategist. This is not a channel for political commentary. We are here to break down behavior and body language. So I want to start with a video of Pierre from several years ago because I think it's quite useful to look back at some older footage and to see if there's any behavior that he might have had back then that he still has today, or if there's been a lot of change in the way that he communicates. This first clip is from 7 years ago, and Pierre is giving a press conference.
Today we will debate again the carbon tax cover-up on the floor of the House of Commons. We know that the carbon tax will raise the price of almost every consumer good Canadians buy. The price of gas, the price of home heating, the price of groceries, the price of furniture, and almost anything that is moved by truck, train, or any other method of transportation.
So we have PJ joining us there in the background. Anyways, so Pierre is speaking at a press conference here, and the first thing that I want to call out is his vocal cadence. When I say cadence, I'm talking about the flow and rhythm of his voice when he's saying things. He emphasizes specific words.
We know that the carbon tax will raise the price of...
His speech pattern flows along, and he emphasizes particular words as he speaks. This is the way he's learned to talk. Whether or not he's had vocal coaching, I'm not sure, but this might also just be something that he's worked on and developed, and it's worked for him. Pierre also uses his gestures to illustrate what it is that he's saying. He lists off several things, and he uses his hand to illustrate to you those 3 points. But you also don't want to go overboard with this because stillness is important as well. So we'll get into Pierre's stillness a little bit later, but I do want to point out that he's using his gestures strategically. He's showing you, visually showing you those points. And that can be a very useful device for politicians.
What is your suspicion about why it's not being released?
Sticker shock. The government doesn't want Canadians to know what this tax will cost. You ever walk into a store and see a product without a price tag on it? You have to actually bring it up and ask what it costs. That when you get up to the front, you find out that it's a heck of a lot more expensive than you thought.
Using your gestures to illustrate helps to bridge connections between you and your audience. It's particularly effective when you're communicating ideas. So let's say I'm giving a presentation and I have 3 points that I want to tell you about before I get into my big idea. This helps us visually connect, and we can start to build expectations as an audience about the kind of information that we're going to be receiving.
So have you talked to Doug Ford, or has anyone in your party, about his plan to basically get out of the whole system that's in Ontario?
I personally, not since the election, I spoke to him prior. About the carbon tax, yes, and
Conversation did you have?
He wants out of the carbon tax, and he campaigned on that in the last election, won a big majority.
Right, so you're on the same side.
Absolutely.
So I do see a kind of cluster of change happening here under the mention of Doug Ford. We see Pierre start to shift.
Doug Ford, or has anyone in your party, about his plan to basically get out of the whole system?
We see Pierre show some signs of change. We see a hand gesture. His hand kind of touches the side of the podium. He locks back down. We also see a lip lick. That could be a way that he's adapting to some nervous energy. And when I say nervous energy, I just mean energy that's associated with stress. The lip lick is usually if the lips have dried out a little and we're trying to moisten them again before we speak. It can also be a grooming gesture because ideally you want to present your best self, so you're trying to maintain an aesthetic appearance, and the lips look best when they are moist rather than dry. So Pierre does another gesture. He holds his hand to his heart when he says personally. Again, that is illustrating it's personal to me. It's coming from the heart. Let's take a look at a more recent clip of Pierre. This is from a Global News interview, and this was from a week or two ago.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Great to be with you.
And welcome to British Columbia
great to be
again.
back.
It's always great having you
Thank
here.
you.
Let's talk about the election that we just wrapped up. Mark Carney is our Prime Minister. Your party is the official opposition. You want to stay on as the Conservative leader. Why should Conservatives give you another chance to go to an election to take on the Liberals?
Well, it's a fair question. Obviously we wanted to win. I wanted to win more than anyone because I believe in what we're doing. We made some great gains. We added 2.5 million more votes, 25 more seats, made gains in cities, gains among working class people, blue collar union members, young people, newcomers. But it wasn't enough, so we have to get even better.
So we hear that initial vocal click. So that's usually if the mouth is become a bit dry and someone hasn't spoken in a little while, the tongue hits the roof of the mouth, creating that click sound. Pierre has his hands out in front. We like to see the hands. You guys know, if you've come from the Carney video, I talked about how Carney kept his hands behind his back. Our ancestors liked to see the hands because if you were out hunting in the wilderness and you came across a stranger who could be a predator, you wanted to see their hands to know if they were concealing weapons or not. That's where that comes from. It builds a sense of trust. It builds a sense of connection. So we originally see Pierre's hands out in front here, but he does go to tuck them in his pockets. Now, what do you guys think is worse? Hands tucked in the pockets or hands tucked behind the back? Let me know in the comments. So at least when the hands are in the pockets, there's a larger silhouette happening. So he looks a little bit more broad. He says, I wanted to win more than anybody. We see a slight shoulder shrug there. And he says, I believe in what we're doing. Now, does this look like the face of somebody who believes in what they're doing? That looks to me like someone who is perhaps a bit skeptical, or there might be something in what they're doing that he doesn't believe in. There might be one part of what they're doing that Pierre doesn't believe in. This is a face of uncertainty. His lips have curled in. It's a bit of a mouth shrug. And that, in combination with the shoulder shrug, gives me reason to believe that there might be something in what they're doing that Pierre doesn't necessarily believe in.
One of the things you were criticized for in the campaign was not forging a better relationship with Premier Doug Ford in Ontario. Premier Tim Houston in Nova Scotia said the same thing. The sense here is that there were some mayors who would call themselves conservatives were concerned that you didn't come meet with them. Do you need to do more work to build relationships with other like-minded conservatives across the country as you aim towards the next 4-year election cycle?
I think we have to build alliances with people who share our policy objectives and our goals for the country. So we're going to be continuing to do that and working hard to get things done as a team. I think what we've seen right now is the country needs to lock arms and unite in order to face the tariff threats from the U.S., to get trade going across our country, get big projects approved. So we'll be building alliances with everybody who wants to do that.
So Pierre is very locked down a lot of the time. Sometimes having too much controlled stillness can also come across as being emotionally distant. I have a feeling that's part of the reason why that one clip with Pierre eating the apple
on the topic, in terms of your sort of strategy
went so viral. It's not only just because there was sort of a comeback moment and the journalist wasn't fully prepared for some of the questions he was asking. It was also because we saw Pierre kind of unfiltered. We saw the stiff, poised mask come off, and it felt a little bit more relatable. It felt very casual. Pierre is definitely someone who controls his movement. It's very strategic. He uses his gestures when he wants to, and he uses them to emphasize his points. But just because somebody does that, it doesn't mean that they're immune to stress. It doesn't mean that they're immune to showing us some visual signs of stress or indicators that they are feeling discomfort. And we do see some of that here. The lips are being pressed together. And usually when we see that gesture, we can think of information or an opinion that is being withheld. That person is closing down their mouth to create a barrier to prevent the information from coming out. It's literally like locking it in. So we do see some head nodding there, and that's in agreement with his point. It's quite congruent to what it is that he's saying. He emphasizes particular words.
To lock arms and unite.
I would say in this particular interview, the energy is a little bit more subdued. It seems like a kind of a quieter interview for him, and it's less pointed than how he normally is. The cadence is still there, but the energy is just a little bit different. The volume is even a little bit different. This last clip of Pierre is from a recent CBC interview, and he is being questioned by one of their radio hosts.
And I told Prime Minister Carney in our several conversations that Conservatives stand ready to help in any way we can to reach out to lawmakers on the American side of the border, to offer suggestions and present a united Canadian front, because we really do hope that we get a good deal for all Canadians.
Are you doing that? Has he taken you up on that, or have you done that proactively?
So far, I have talked to numerous lawmakers and advocated for the Canadian position, but we haven't formally engaged in traveling to the U.S. at this point. But I told the Prime Minister that we as Canadian Conservatives, we put our country first, and we're prepared to work with anybody from any party to get a good deal for Canada.
So we hear more ums and ahs, and I did call out Carney for this as well.
But
people struggle to find the words, especially when they're under stress. We use words like like. It buys us a bit of time to think about what we want to say. But we do hear that loss of fluency from Pierre.
Numerous lawmakers and
he kind of struggles to figure out what to say next, and then we can actually hear the moment it comes back to him, and he reverts back into that same cadence that we've heard from him before.
We put our country first, and we're prepared to work with anybody from any party to get a good deal for Canada.
Right, we hear those points being made again. We also see a spike in Pierre's blink rate. Our blink rate tends to increase when we are under stress because we want to keep the eyes well lubricated in case there's a potential threat. Pierre does have a pretty high blink rate in general. And we can see in his previous videos, he used to wear glasses, and now he perhaps has contacts, or he might have had laser surgery, and that might have something to do with it. But I do see a spike in blink rate there, and I use that as an indicator of stress.
We're reaching you in Alberta. You're there campaigning for the by-election in Battle River, Crowfoot.
It's a great place to be, back on the prairies.
Indeed. Well, listen, it does appear that we are heading towards a referendum on Alberta separation. When you are speaking to folks on the ground in the riding that you hope to win, are you telling them that they should remain part of Canada regardless of who is governing? I know you want to make the case for a Conservative government, but that referendum is likely to come sooner rather than later. Would you say to them they should stay even with Mark Carney in power?
They should stay in Canada.
Yes. Are you actively advocating for it?
If you're asking me, absolutely. I'm advocating for a united Canada, and I say that on the doorstep. I say it when I'm in town halls. I say it every time it comes up. I said it at the Calgary Stampede. So I'm not being wishy-washy about this. I'm a Canadian. I'm a Canadian patriot. I'm proud that I grew up in southern Alberta, in Calgary, and I'm a very proud born and bred Albertan. Canada is my country, Canada is the country that the people in Battle River Crowfoot call home. If you look around the communities here, you will see the Canadian flag everywhere.
We have some big grand gestures here, open arms, Alberta, Battle River Crowfoot, this community, and we see a genuine smile from Pierre. The eyes are crinkled here at the sides and the cheeks are up. Sometimes when people are smiling and it's an inauthentic smile, it tends to stay on the lower half of the face. I do wish the camera held a little bit more on Pierre there, because at the word referendum, we see that smile quickly dissipate. So we do have a bit of a delay in Pierre's response, and I think that delay comes from he might have been uncertain if that was the end of her question or if there was something else she might say, so he does clarify.
They should stay in Canada.
Yes.
It's just that initial delay. It gives him a little bit more time to think about his response. And then we also see more congruency with his gestures. And when I say congruency, I mean that his gestures are matching the words that he's saying. So he says Canadian, Canadian patriot, and those gestures match the words that he says. When you start to spot incongruency in gestures, that can generally be a red flag that something might not be right. The story might be rehearsed. It might be something that they're making up, or there might be a gap in time that they're hiding. It's always a red flag to me when I see something that's a bit incongruent to what the person is saying. If the gestures don't match the tone and vocal emphasis. So we do see congruency around those gestures, and that's a very positive thing because those gestures are in alignment with what it is that he's saying. So there's less likelihood that there's any kind of deception or dishonesty around those feelings.
Canada is my country. Canada is the country that the people in Battle River Crowfoot call home. If you look around the communities here, you will see the Canadian flag everywhere.
Overall, Pierre does well at using his gestures to emphasize his points. He also maintains a lot of stillness under stress, and that projects confidence. But the trade-off is that sometimes that stillness can be seen as being emotionally distant or calculated rather than charismatic. So comment below if you've learned anything about Pierre's body language, and make sure you subscribe. We're going to be breaking down Meghan Markle later this week. I know a lot of you guys are interested in deception and deception tells and cues, and Meghan is a great place to start. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!